Sue's wonderful message. Thank you.
I will make a quiet place within my heart. I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know.
I will make a quiet place within my mind. I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know.
I will make a quiet place within my life.
And
I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. I will make a quiet place.
In this beautiful space, we invoke Spirit, the living embodiment of our truth, our true nature. We ask in the most sincerity and with devotion to fill us up and to runneth our cup over, to go into all the places, to take us, to wash us clean for this beautiful new year, so that all that is left is that divine spirit that is in this space, that spirit that is wordless, that spirit that is fullness. These words represent the totality of that love which our beautiful Sue is going to speak to us today, so that we may take out into the new year the tools and the skills that we have to support the idea of our true nature, the tools and the skills that we need to totally let go and be with that presence that is here right now. And with these words, I know that Spirit is ever present, ever loving, and ever full. I know that for me, and I know that for you and everyone watching. And I call it into be. And so it is. Today we light these candles in honor of all faiths. It is a beautiful thing about our tradition that all are welcome here. We celebrate everyone in every way for who they are right here in this very moment. We meet you where you're at to lift you up and pour into you that which you think you are not, but which you already are. The light demonstrates how when we receive this openly, it dispels all darkness, all unlike itself. It illuminates you, magnetizes you, and brings you in to the perfect symbiotico with the nature of who you are. And we are so grateful to Ernest Holmes for being as studious as he was to bring us these beautiful teachings so that we may have a way, a path. And so it is. The reading today is from How to Be Loving. As Your Heart is Breaking Open and Our World is Waking Up by Danielle Laporte. Love, light, power. Divine love is the will to good for all. It's the ultimate inclusiveness. Divine light is the application of divine love. This means that when we give love, it becomes light. Love given is light. We are love, and we point that substance in a particular direction to another person, to a part of ourselves, to a wound or a situation, or to the planet. Those hearts streaming out towards another person. We're streaming that consciousness of light outward. Divine power, in inclusiveness and surrender in action. It's a thy will be done approach to life rather than my will be done. We trust the unfolding guidance of spirit, and we wrap that love and light around the world. And so it is.
So we're doing this new song that Sue wanted, and it's from the musical The Greatest Showman. And it's called Come Alive. You stumble through your days, got your head hung low, your sky's a shade of gray, like a zombie in a maze. You're asleep inside, but you can shake awake, 'cause you're just a dead man walking, thinking that's your only option. But you can flick the switch and brighten up your darkest day. Sun is up, colors blinding, take a world, redefine it. Leave behind your narrow mind, you'll never be the same. Come alive, come alive. Go and light your light, let it burn so bright, reaching up to the sky. And it's open wide, you're electrified. And the world becomes a fantasy, and you're more than you could ever be, 'cause you're dreaming with your eyes wide open. And you know you can't go back again to the world that you were living in, 'cause you're dreaming with your eyes wide open. So come alive. I see it in your eyes. You believe that lie, that you need to hide your face, afraid to step outside. So you lock the door, but don't you stay that way. No more living in the shadows. You and me, we know how that goes, 'cause once you see it, oh, you'll never ever be the same. Little bit of lightning striking, bottled up, keep on shining. You can prove there's more to you. You cannot be afraid. Come alive, come alive. Go and light your light, let it burn so bright, reaching up to the sky. And it's open wide, you're electrified. And the world becomes a fantasy, and you're more than you could ever be, 'cause you're dreaming with your eyes wide open. and you're more than you can ever be, 'cause you're dreaming with your eyes wide open. And we know we can't go back again to the world that we were living in, 'cause we're dreaming with our eyes wide open. 'Cause we're dreaming with our eyes wide open. So come alive.
Thank you, Bradford. That is one of my favorite songs in the world. And really, that's what, for me, that's what this is about. It's about coming alive, right? We're here to really remember the truth of who we are and to see life in a brand new way. So first, I will say I'm not hugging anybody today because I was sick this week, and when my sinuses drain, they go down my throat, and I become a bass. And a really, like, ribbit was the only thing that was missing. People from work would call me, and I said, "Hi, this is Sue," and one of the IT guys went, "Can I talk to Sue, please?" I said, "No, this is me." And he was like, "Seriously?" I said, "Donnie, I just have no voice." And he was like, I thought somebody was just yanking my chain. And I said, "No, it's just me." Oh well. But my physician assistant says I'm better. I may still have drainage, but it's not contagious and all that. But he said, "You know how when somebody tells you not to do something, but they can't really feel like they can tell you not to do something?" It was like, you're not contagious, you don't have a fever, you can do the service. I went, "Okay, and the but, bring it on." He goes, "But you probably should just make sure you're masked and, have a good social distance," because I went, "Got it." But it was so funny because he was just like, you could just tell his little brain was going, how can I say no in a kind way? But he did. So anyway, so if I'm froggy still, my apologies, but so it goes. So thank you for learning that song. It is just one of my favorite of all-time favorites. So this year, we wrapped up last year with a year of everyday wonder. And this year, the theme for CSL is living out loud. Does that sound fun? Yeah. So another favorite song of mine is one by Jennifer Lopez called "Let's Get Loud." So at the end of the service, we're going to do some "Let's Get Loud." But what CSL says is, as we learn our principles and practices, it's important to live them, not hide our light under a bushel. Finding ways to live them fully in everyday life is the real and very practical goal of the Science of Mind teachings. For 2023, the Centers for Spiritual Living global themes are calling us to this full expression for living out loud. The themes are designed to help us boldly and bravely go where no religious scientist has ever gone. Made me laugh. If I could sing the Star Trek music, I would for you, but I'm sure you all can know it in your head. Some things I should never do. It says, well, actually, many of us have, but the invitation is to go even further. Be daring embodiments of this teaching and develop a willingness and an attitude of truly living your life out loud. So Reverend Karen has also challenged us this year to have a life of being remarkable. And let's be remarkable. And so, me, I love the dictionary. I always have to look things up in the dictionary. And remarkable is worthy of being or likely to be noticed, especially as being uncommon or extraordinary. And then it has some other synonyms. Noticeable applies to something unlikely to escape observation. Remarkable applies to something so extraordinary or exceptional as to invite comment. Prominent applies to something commanding notice by standing out from its surroundings or background. Outstanding applies to something that rises above and excels others of the same kind. Conspicuous applies to something that is obvious and unavoidable to the sight or mind. Salient applies to something of significance that merits the attention given it, and striking applies to something that impresses itself powerfully and deeply upon the observer's mind or vision. And you know, if you think about, at least for me, when I think about the science of mind principles, they are remarkable and they are all of those things. This teaching for me is one of the most freeing things that has ever happened to me. To be able to be at a point in my life where I'm about to turn 68, I am in my second year in ministerial school finally, and to know that I can live my life fully without apology, without excuse, without justification. Excuse me. But then they have some other words. So remarkable, you know, we always want to go to the really cool, nice words that go with it. But it cracked me up because then they had this list. Bizarre. Cranky. How often have you heard me say I had my cranky pants on that day? Crazy, curious, eccentric, far out, funky, funny, kooky, odd, off kilter, off the wall, offbeat, outlandish. Let's see, outre, I think is how they say it. Violating convention or propriety. Done that a few times in my life. Many people would wish I didn't. Peculiar, quaint, quirky, screwy, strange, wacky, way out, weird, and wild. So I would love to say I haven't been to many, if not all of those things, but the truth is that I have. And the truth is that we all have, right? Being a part of being remarkable, in my opinion, is being able to love and accept every aspect of who we are. Those things that we love, those things that we're proud of, those things that when you say, well, what do I want to be remembered for? You have some cool thing that you want to, you know, it's like some purpose that you have. But it's also the days you have your cranky pants on. It's also the days that you are grumpy and that you are not the person that you would necessarily love you to be in that given moment, but they are who we are. Every single piece and part of us is required to be whole. And I remember, you know, I've worked with Richard Rogers for years and years, and the first time he said to me, Sue, what if there's, because I was in an especially hair on fire, nasty, cranky pants mood during one of our sessions, and he said, what if there is as much God in you right now, in this moment, when you feel like Callie the Destroyer and everything and everyone in your path may be in danger? What if there's as much God in you right now as there is at any other time? And I said what I often say to him, I was really unaware that you smoked crack. I thought you'd stopped that. Because clearly, because he would say, you need to let that Callie goddess out. And it's like, I would be in jail. I would have no one in my life. I would have probably laid out a few people that probably didn't deserve it and a few that did, in my opinion. And he's like, there's as much God in you then as there is any other time. And that was probably one of the hardest lessons I've had to learn. That the things that we have fears about, it doesn't mean that we're broken. We're not broken. Not now, not ever. We're not broken. So today I'm having a different ceremony than I've done before, and I'm going to do something kind of odd. In most time when you go to church, they say, please put your phone away. I'm going to say, if you don't have a phone, raise your hand and I'll try to hook you up with someone who does. If you have a phone, get it out because we're going to use it during the ceremony. So, does it have a flashlight on it? Yeah. As long as it has a flashlight on it, because we're going to use the flashlight feature. Everybody goes, seriously? And if you don't, we'll help you figure out how to get your hands on a flashlight. But I always start thinking about what to do probably in September. And let everything kind of bubble up and get ready to find its way out. And this time, everything I touched, I went, no, that's not it. Nope, not that either. And I will give credit for this idea to the Human Resources Department of Sun Health. We had an education session. They call them lunch and learns. If you've ever been in business, it's such a fun thing, lunch and learn. It means that they'll feed you, but they also jabber at you for a while with something that they think is really important that you know. But the woman had this smoky crystal, and she passed it around, and she asked everybody to use their phone to look at it. So I went, I can steal this. I can work with this. So that's where it was born. And I think it's going to be a little different. It should be fun. So, I want to first I want to thank Tracy for stepping in for me last night at the Burning Bowl ceremony. It broke my heart to stay away, but with the PA going, you could do them both. Pause. It might be taxing physically and potentially cause a relapse. And I'm like, fine. So Tracy was kind enough to step in for me, and I listened to it last night. It was lovely. But as I do every year, I'm going to ask you to start asking yourself some questions. So somewhere in this building, there are the pages that we used, that were put together for last night that Tracy used when she did the service, but never got handed out. So if you see a stack of papers other than those, and the little flash paper packet, let me know. They're here somewhere in the building. It's not like they could have gone away, but they have vanished like flash paper. Anyway, at the beginning of the year, I always try to do certain things. So I do a values assessment. And I think that a values assessment is really an important thing because one of my favorite questions that started last year with Parker Palmer, a Quaker who's just fascinating, his question was not, what have I done? What have I accomplished? What has happened? It's, have I lived in alignment with my values? Have I lived according to my values? And he says, Albert Einstein says, the most important decision we make is whether we believe we live in a friendly or a hostile universe. That's because a lot of people really do live their life with the belief that this is a hostile universe that's out to get us. Now, one of the things I love about this teaching is it teaches us that this is a loving universe. And Ernest Holmes says, what do I believe about God today? He said, ask yourself that every day. Now, I remember in one prac class, one of the students said, I have been reading a lot of Ernest Holmes, obviously, as a result of doing these classes. And she said, I cannot tell you how often Ernest Holmes says, do this every day. She said, if I do this every day, and she rattled off a list of about 30 of them, she said, I wouldn't do anything but this. I went, well, not such a bad idea, but I understand that we all have lives to live. And I don't know that he necessarily meant do every one of things every day, but it had to do with be contemplative and to be aware and to look and to listen. And to me, what do I believe about God today? What do I believe about God today? Do I believe that this is a loving universe, not a hostile universe? And I can tell you honestly that my answer to that is yes. Does that mean that I live with my head in the sand because I think that there isn't stuff going on in the world that makes my blood run cold? That there isn't stuff going on in the world that makes me angry, that gets me all riled up? No, I'm not. I'm not saying that the world behavior is idyllic. But what I believe is that underneath, around, and above it all is a loving God and a loving universe. And that my job is to stay focused there. And when I stay focused there, life looks different. Margaret Wheatley has a very difficult book to read. I won't lie to you, it's very difficult. I don't recommend buying it. I did read it, and I'll give you the two things that really blew my socks off. Are you willing to use whatever power and influence you have to create islands of sanity that evoke and rely on our best human qualities to create, produce, and persevere? I think that for those of us who are attracted to this philosophy, we're attracted to questions like that because we have a desire to create a better world. I really believe that you can't come to a philosophy like this and stay here without getting to the point where that's a part of your desire for the world. So That, and then Emma Curtis Hopkins' quote that I love, and I can't tell, it's like printed big and right over my desk. Rise up, my soul, and heal the sick wherever I walk. Show people how to be strong. Make people love God. Quicken me with heavenly fervor. What a great term, heavenly fervor. Very Emma. Show me the finished kingdom through which I walk. Show me the finished kingdom through which I walk. Show me the words that make the world glad and sane. So for me, the questions have to do with what can I do in my life to create that for me? Because if I create it in my world and you create it in yours and in yours and in yours, you remember, I'm dating myself now. Is there anybody in the room looks like they're not old enough to remember Farrah Fawcett? And her ad for some shampoo. And said, and they tell two friends, and they tell two friends, and then it was like all these little squares that would pop up in the TV screen of Farrah Fawcett. And for me, that's what this is about. I create, you create, we all create, and we become this expansion out into the world. So the other question, and they're all questions that have stayed with me. I haven't been able to say, oh, these were the questions for last year. They're the questions that I think are going to probably be with me for a lot of years. And that is, before you tell your life what you intend to do with it, Parker Palmer says, listen for what it intends to do with you. Before you tell your life what truths and values you have decided to live up to, let your life tell you what truths you embody and what values you represent. So for me, the questions for the year are really important. And the book that Tracy read from that I have fallen in love with is Danielle Laporte's How to Be Loving as Your Heart is Breaking Open and Our World is Waking Up. It's a really remarkable book. And in it, my favorite quote of everything is, the heart is the library of all you will ever need to know. Isn't that gorgeous? The heart is the library of all you will ever need to know. I read that and I just stopped. I probably stared at it. I don't know how long I stared. It felt like, forever. Could have been a heartbeat, but the heart is the library of all you will ever need to know. And in it, she talks about the change, because she started, for years, she was about the desire map and picking how you wanted to feel and setting intentions with soul based on how you want to feel. And in the introduction, she says, she's very funny because she's really willing to be kind of hard on herself. She's a hoot. On my most recent year in review exercise, I seriously considered walking away from my creative life, which I tend to reconsider every few years. I had this romantic notion of meditating all morning in my apartment, growing potatoes on my deck for neighbors, wearing peasant blouses, and never checking an Instagram account ever again. But instead, I wrote this book. But she said, I wrote it because my heart is breaking open from the state of the world. I think we're longing for love and truth and for each other. And so her new question is, she's about shifting from an emotion-driven life to a heart-centered life. And for the last couple years, she has said, what do I want to embody? What do I want to embody? Which is sort of like Margaret Wheatley saying, who do I choose to be for this time? Who do I choose to be for this time? So it's an inside job. And the thing that ultimately in this whole book is about is love. That when everything else peels away, love is all there is. In fact, one of the chapters, let's see, where did I put the little flag on it? Maybe I didn't flag it. It just says, Love is all. Or it's all, love it 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 all. It's all, the whole page, just love it all. And for me, that's one of the hardest lessons I've ever had to learn, to love it all. Not the things that are cool and pretty and flashy and make me feel happy and good. Love it all. Love it all. She says spirituality is really just the practice of open-mindedness or intentionally not putting up blocks to life. Enlightenment is when the mind fans out so wide that it dissolves into unbounded loving awareness. Now, all of these are lovely thoughts, right? It's a lovely aspiration. And some days I rock at it, and other days I have my cranky pants on, and I don't rock at it. I rock at being cranky. But what if they're equally important? What if they're equally important? She says the heart's wisdom blows personality constructs to stardust, and it lays the true reality bare. Open-mindedness or spirituality is the practice of thinking with love. The practice of thinking with love. She also talks a lot, and so the last talk I gave in Lake Havasu, I mentioned this. She talks about the fact that our hearts are always open, that we have this illusion that we can close our heart. But her philosophy is you don't close your heart, you simply close your mind. That your heart is always open. Your heart can always see the truth. It's the mind that goes, are you kidding me? Seriously? My assistant gave me a little sticky note, and on the bottom it says, seriously? I went, oh my God, I must say that a lot, huh? That she actually thought, here, you would like this. You could put this on it. But the bottom line is shifting from reactive living to reflective living, and to looking for ways to see higher levels of love. So, in looking at the crux, for me, the crux of the message today, and the crux of being able to be remarkable with life, is that nothing leaves us. Nothing leaves us until we thoroughly love it. You know, we treat things that we're afraid of, that we want to change, as something we need to do battle with, often. We think it's something that needs to be admonished or eradicated. What if that's not it at all? What if it's just to love that part of me? She talks a lot about, she uses a house as an analogy, and she says, your soul owns the house. Your mind creates the decor, the furniture, the paint, the drapes, the artwork, but your soul owns it. Your mind relegates some things to the basement that it has considered bad. Bad Sue, bad Sue, bad Sue, the basement stuff. And it's about bringing up those things from the basement of our mind. So we can't let go of something while we're aggressively trying to be rid of it. Have you ever been really to the point where you go, this has just got to stop? I can't tell you how often I have. But when we're in that state, that thing has a tremendous amount of power, and the universe sadly does not hear not, right? It just hears whatever that thing is. Make it go away? No. Well, what it hears is the emotion of that thing. And so with that kind of aggressive, it doesn't desire to change something. It doesn't go away. And she said something that I've heard before, but I dearly love, and she said, we can either be in pain or we can be with our pain. They're completely different. To be able to say, there are things in me that cause pain, that I don't like, that I don't love, that I wish were different, but I need to just love it. You know, I used to describe how I would use the law. That I knew that there were times that I set an intention for something, and I said it so powerfully. I said, it feels like I have a metal band around my consciousness, and it is working so hard to keep that thought in place. And as soon as I relaxed that metal band, then other things flowed in. Well, it's not because, it's because I was trying to force it, right? It's not about force, it's about allowing. When I try to force something, it is not in the flow. And so when I would have this metal band around trying to make something happen, and it would be there and it would be working, and I would go, okay, phew, I can relax. And then it would kind of turn to crap again because I was forcing it. I was trying to say what we used to call in science of mind outlining. They don't talk about outlining much anymore, but that is when we would say, okay, God, this is what I want. By the way, I would like you to do it with A, B, C, D, and E, and I would like it at this time and in this way, and by this date, and it needs to look, it's like, that's not my job. My job is to say what? It's God's job for everything else. And I have such a confusion with God's job versus my job. I so frequently want to make God's job mine. But it is really about allowing. It's just about allowing ourselves to see the world from a more loving perspective. And she says, when we see ourselves as divine beings, we stop craving fulfillment from outside ourselves. We will keep going back for more pain until we realize that we are not the wound. And so it's about really allowing myself to say, can I see myself from a softer, kinder, more compassionate way? Can I still set an intention to expand, to grow, to strengthen, to be more of who I want to be? Absolutely. But to make that happen, I can't be fighting anything else. It's just to love exactly the way we are. And she talks about fears and fragments. And in the audio version of the book, she obviously makes commentary because I was trying to find a specific quote that I'd heard her say, and so I did a word search in my Kindle version, and it wasn't there. And I was like, well, now I can't find it. It's going to take me a long time of going through the audio, but so I'm not going to. But she said she refers to things as shards. So we're going with the ceremony we're going to do. We have some really large size stones. We're not going to start yet. Oh, okay. I'm just going to show you that in this bag, there are the little pieces. So I got the rocks, and in the rocks, then when you shook them out of the bag, there's all these little pieces that had broken off. Some of them are like the size of dust, and some of them are pretty fair size. But that's what happens with us. It's like a broken mirror. She uses the example of a broken mirror that you look at it, and if you're looking at a broken mirror, it just seems fragmented and it doesn't make sense, and it isn't the full picture. So to be able to see and invite that new way of being and to welcome those shards back in to create a whole way of being is, to me, the most important thing that I can do, the kindest thing I can do for myself. Because kindness is hard. You wouldn't think that it would be, but I've done a lot of work with Kristen Neff, who does work with self-compassion, and she really talks so much about how hard we can be on ourselves and what a difference compassion makes. So what I'm going to do is invite you to think about inviting the good into your life, inviting the flow into your life, inviting the wisdom into your life, rather than trying to force it into existence. And again, the crux of it is nothing leaves until we thoroughly love it. Nothing grows until we thoroughly love it. Love is really the answer. We're not the backstory of our life. We're the writer of the story of our life. Brene Brown talks about that a lot. Danielle Laporte talks about it. A lot of writers talk about the fact that we're in charge of the story we write about our life. It doesn't necessarily mean that I get to control every circumstance of my life, but I certainly get to control how I perceive it. So if I'm not my backstory and I get to create my life in a way that I want it, it's important to remember, Troward says, your past does not have to be the precedent for the future. It's remembering that we're reclaiming the story of the truth of who we are. So here's my last quote from her. She says, relax into the mystery and dedicate ourselves to discovery. We'll move closer to aliveness. Relax and dedicate ourselves to higher understanding. Dedicate and relax with the unfathomable scope of existence. Relax and dedicate to goodness in our words and our actions. Ernest Holmes says, all are rooted in the one life. Your endeavor then is not so much to find God as it is to realize God's presence and to understand that this presence is always with you. It is always with you. Nothing can change it, stop it, or make a difference. It's always there. So we're going to move into the ceremony, and I will start with the fact that what I'm giving you, and it's now you can start. I'm going to ask Clyde and Tracy to come and pass the black bags around to people and pick out a stone. But I'm going to ask you to do something, and you probably can't do it. I know I couldn't, but give it a try. Reach into the bag, pull it out, but don't look at it. And there's some big pieces and some little pieces. She would like one too, yeah. So it's rainbow fluorite. And it stabilizes, brings clarity, resolve to the mind, heals emotions, lays open the foundation for balanced living in the physical, spiritual, and higher dimensions of life. And it says the key to working with rainbow fluorite is, or any crystal for that matter, is to program it with an intention. That way you can be reminded of your goal every time you look at the stone. So if you have that stone in your hands, just allow yourself to feel it. And when you get one, for those of you in the back who don't have one yet, allow yourself to just put your hands on it and to see how it feels. The roughness, some will have some smooth sides, some are completely rough, different sizes, different shapes. Some are cleaner cut than others, some have no cut. But just allow yourself to feel it, the rough edges, the flaws. And then you can look at it now and look at it and see what it looks like. The rough edges, the dings, the flaws. Feel it in your hands. Hold it up to the light. Right, can you see different colors? So it was one when I did this with the Lake Havasu folks. It was completely clear green, and it looked like little sparkles were in it. It was fascinating. Others you can clearly see, but you can look, and you can see that there's differences. So now what I want you to do is I want you to take your phone. I want you to turn your flashlight on. If I can find it, here we go. And now hold your stone up to the light on your flashlight. Set it on there, hold it up from the light a little bit, turn it around on all the sides. Can you see all the different colors? Does it look so completely different from how it was even when you held it up to the light? Some of them have a lot of color, some have almost none. There's one in there that is a pale lavender, others that are pale green, some that are so dark purple that the light really has to be bright to see it. But that's the remarkableness of it. The light is your light. This flashlight is inside of you. That's the light of the divine being inside of you. So I'm going to ask you now to hold that, hold it in your hand and put it up against your heart. And think about some of the questions. Do I believe that this is a friendly universe? What do I believe about God today? Have I been faithful to my values, and am I willing to commit to moving forward in this year to living in alignment with my values? Is the life I'm living the life that wants to be lived in me? Am I willing to let the highest truths and values guide everything I do? And again, the Margaret Weagley question, who do I choose to be for this time? What do I want more of this year? What do I want to embody? What qualities of God do I want to have show up in greater ways in my life? Am I willing to use whatever power and influence I have to create islands of sanity in my life, in the life of those around me? And as you ask those questions, see if there's a word or two, or a phrase, or an idea, or a feeling, or a quality of God that comes up, and allow yourself to just fill that stone with that idea or those ideas. And I'll ask you to go through this periodically throughout the year. Pick up your stone, don't just leave it sit. It talks about, that crystals of all kinds need to be rejuvenated. So rejuvenate this one. You can have it on your altar, but take it out. Take it with you. Take it out into the sunshine. Take it out into the rain. And allow it to be that which you're infusing it with today. When you hold it, it comes back to you. And when you reignite it, it makes it stronger. And it may give it something brand new. But allow yourself to let your stone this year, this rainbow fluorite, to be something that you can take and put on a light every once in a while when you've forgotten, when you're pulling things up from the basement and going, bad me. And remember that it's all love. So in terms of living out loud, it's about letting that shine then. All of those qualities, and seeing that you don't have to be ashamed or embarrassed by anything. I know that in my life, I was often told I'm too much. You're just too much. You're too loud, you're too this, you're too that. It's like too much. And then other people will say you're not enough. It's, like the world is crazy. It just happens. But to allow yourself to be fully remarkable, let all of those things out. Love all of those things. What's the expression, dance like no one's watching? There's something else that goes in that saying. I don't know what it is, but anyway, so Kendra, can you kick up Jennifer Lopez for me? So this song, I got the version that has lyrics on it because the lyrics are great. It's Jennifer Lopez's song, Let's Get Loud. And here we go, good. thing she says in the song was, I bet you didn't think I could do that. So go home, look it up online with the ones with the lyrics. It's a fabulous song, or just look up the lyrics. It's a great song. It has been playing in my head for long before I heard the Living Out Loud theme. So just allow yourself the joy. Really, because that's what that song brings out in me. It just brings out joy. It makes me want to go take salsa lessons and, and just not care, right? Because she talks about living on purpose and just enjoying life. So with that, let's just take a moment and anchor this in prayer. You don't need to put the music on because it's not going to be a quiet prayer, because who could have a quiet prayer after that? So right here, right now, in this very moment, where we express joy and laughter and love and light, to know that as we move forward into this year, we do so with that same sense of exuberance, excitement, enthusiasm, expectancy of good, and more good. And that everything comes to us with a sense of joy and grace and ease. It is done in a way that lifts us to new heights, and that everything around us contributes to that joy, whether we're aware of it, whether it makes sense or not, that our hearts remain wide open, that we know exactly what we need to do because it's based in love. So I am so grateful for everyone that showed up here today, for people watching online. I'll leave some stones here at the center so that you can come pick one up and get one if you want. And know that we are love, pure love. And so I release this with that sense of excitement, enthusiasm, and expectancy, knowing that the synchronicity of the universe of love and law has already said yes. And so it is. Thanks, everybody. Happy New Year.
Grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. I am so grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. Everywhere I look and every face I see is love reflected, shining back to me. I just give thanks for all these simple things, the joy and peace that gratitude brings. That's why I'm grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. I am so grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have.
All right. Thank you, Bradfords, and thank you, Sue. And we're grateful to get up and do that dance and get the energy going in us, huh? Get that blood circulating. So, all right. So, just want to a couple of just quick announcements. One is that Janice Olson, we're going to be doing a celebration of life next Saturday at 2 p.m. So if you could join us, it'll be wonderful to celebrate her beautiful light and love. And then also tomorrow, if you're available around 9 a.m., we need to tear down Christmas. So if you want to join me tomorrow to tear down Christmas, please be here at 9. We're going to tear it down. So thank you for that. All right, so now is the time to remember the abundance of our life and the abundance of our community. So say our giving affirmation with me. I live in a consciousness of good. Divine love blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, and so it is.
Please rise for our last song.
Here we go.
Oh, it feels so good to be alive.
All right, so I have a couple of things. You know, I always talk about the importance of doing a values assessment. So the values assessment paperwork and some setting of intentions paperwork is here if you want it. If you want to dig a little deeper, there's some heavier exercises to use. And if you happen to find the paperwork from last night with the flash paper, you could have a flash paper and take one and create it for yourself if you weren't here. So with that, let's say, I am remarkable. And I live 2023 as a life out loud. 2023 as a life out loud. Thank you, everybody. Happy New Year.